Hello and welcome to another edition of my Southern Exposure. Today is the beginning of winter, well, winter solstice, December 21st, 2020. Baby, it's cold outside. What do you have to say about that, Rajee?
I love this song. I forgot who it was. Remember when the guy's trying to get the girl to stay, and he's like, oh, it's cold, baby, it's cold outside. I really should go. Hi, everyone. We're back. Honey, this is Christmas week. Today is an extraordinarily special day for the universe, for existence, for our planet, because tonight, and in some places around the world, it's already night, there is what we call the Christmas star that is going to be up in the sky, and it's supposed to be so bright and beautiful. Well, it's not really a star. It's two planets that are coming so close together, along with alignment of the moon, that it's going to look like this humongous star in the sky. And the last time it happened was 800 years ago. And guess what? They're saying it's going to probably be another 400 years before it happens again. So I better take my ass outside tonight and look at it, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. And I suggest you do the same, because I don't think I'll be around in 400 years. I would hate to see how I look in 400 years, at least in the physical. So it's a really special day. And on top of that, it's what? The winter solstice.
Yes, clearly. I didn't anticipate that you would jump into it with both hooves. I mean, both feet. Because it's Christmas time. I'm thinking of reindeer. I didn't think you'd jump into it that quickly.
I got hooves over here, and and there's some big women hooves.
Oh, good Lord. We have got a really good show planned today for people at home for Christmas week. There's so much to talk about, and I want to do a little tease for another person that we both know that is scheduled to be on the show later today. I don't know exactly what time, but we'll see how that works out.
She's my daughter. I gave birth to her.
We'll see how the schedule works out with her calling in, and it's going to be her first time. So I want to ask our over 75,000 people who have watched the show to be very kind, considerate, and non-judgmental in any way, shape, or form, because it's the first time that she's going to be interacting with myself and Rajee in a live setting. So let's just I don't know if you noticed, but I'm wearing the bracelet that you sent me for my birthday.
I love it. You look so handsome today. Es muy guapo. Es muy guapo. You look very handsome with your nice red top, and you got your bracelet on, and your hair is all like, pressed and gelled and everything. What are you trying to do? You're trying to go GQ on me or something?
Well, first of all, if you noticed, I didn't want to mess up my hair. So I actually taped the elf hat up on the mirror.
Oh my God! I thought it was on your head for a minute. Oh God!
No, wait a second.
Yeah.
It's the magic of television.
You and your
video
illusions.
Well, I mean, the other thing too is that I didn't put anything on my hair at all. All I did was just put some water on it and slick it back. But we got a really big show planned for today. Rajee, there's been so many things going on in the world, and everyone knows that they can turn to us to get the most candid conversation, sometimes possibly inappropriate. I do want to try to not swear so I don't have to put that 18 or over clause, not the Santa Claus, but the swearing clause for the YouTubers out there. I would like to make this one as appropriate as possible because it is the holiday season. No matter what that holiday is, if it is Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whatever the holiday is, every one of those are greatly appreciated. And even for those who do not practice any holiday specifically, we definitely welcome you with open arms. Just because I believe something and Rajee believes something else and other people believe something else, it doesn't mean that what we have to say is more important than what you have to say, or that what you have to say is less important. So you always know that you can turn to us to be able to vocalize whatever your questions are, concerns, or anything like that. If you want to get a hold of me, it's Joseph at mySouthernExposure.site. I'm going to leave it to Rajee to tell her email address as well, but I do want to give a little tease in reference to what the show will be about today. We've got a lot of hot topics. We got a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, and you know that we don't candy coat stuff here. We just shoot straight from the hip, so to speak. So COVID is rising. Oh my goodness gracious, there's so much going on. I do want to acknowledge some political stuff also as well. I do want to cover some LGBTQ things also in reference to terminology, because some people might not know or understand things the same way that you or I do, Rajee.
Yeah.
In reference to Republican, or I should say the Republic or the democracy, that's important to understand. Timetables for anti-LGBTQ propaganda that has happened since the prior administration. Also a timeline for who, with what happened, when, where, and how. I'm also going to cover some topics about big pharmacy and also stock prices, how they soared, and also the top game players for Pfizer and Moderna. Those are just some of the top things I want to talk about. And then I think once we have the special guest on a little bit later, she's definitely going to have a lot to say about the spectacular light show that's going to be happening spiritually and everything else also as well. So I don't want to talk about that part too much, but there's also a lot in the trans community as well, from the quote unquote self-described Queen MAGA person. I didn't get a chance to actually forward you the information, but I have it in a document and I haven't saved it yet. So, but it's quite interesting. So it'll be interesting to get your opinion and possibly the other person's opinion later, but I don't want to give too much away. So first of all, how has your week been, Rajee?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. My week's been very, very busy. I always manage to get myself involved in a bunch of things, and then I end up like being pulled all over the place and just crazy busy. But I guess it's a good thing because it keeps me out of trouble. Um, so I'm doing more outreach work with a great organization down here by the name of Trans Social. It's trans led and trans run for by trans people for trans people. And so I'm really excited about that. They got a new grant, and so it's a blessing for them, for me, and for many of the trans people in our community. So I've been busy doing that work. I'm really excited about Christmas this week. Christmas to me is the one holiday that is a global holiday, no matter what religion you are. Because, like, you know how we Americans celebrate Thanksgiving? Well, that's an American holiday. Like, the rest of the world doesn't celebrate that. I know Canada, they have a Thanksgiving in October, they have theirs. But other than that, the rest of the world doesn't celebrate that. But Christmas is worldwide, it's universal, and it transcends religion. I mean, for many Christians, it's a spiritual holiday, religious holiday, but in many ways, Christmas just represents unity and love and giving, the spirit of giving and just being with loved ones, family and friends, and just that time of the year where I think we as a human race can truly feel the vibrations of that wonderful day. It's I think because on a worldwide level, people are acknowledging the day in some way. And so I would encourage, I mean, this year, because of COVID, many people will probably just kind of lay low. But I would encourage everyone to tap into that energy, feel it, feel that energy, and connect with the love of the world. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Okay, so in reference to that excitement, I don't want to dampen that at all, but I did just text message you some information, so you don't have to address it, but I want you to be aware of it, and then we can adjust our schedule accordingly. So, okay, you don't have to talk about it, so I'll talk about the other things. First of all, I completely agree with what Rajee has said, because this time of year is extremely important to be thankful for what we do have, because you never know when something is going to happen to somebody that you care about and love. It could happen any minute, any time, any day. It's very important that we appreciate who we have in our lives when we do have them in our lives, because our lives are such a short period of time, and you never know what can happen or when it will happen. In reference to that, this time of year is obviously difficult for a lot of people all the time, year round. It just kind of gets focused or condensed into like this season, the holiday season, from like Thanksgiving through the New Year and after that. The underlying thing, I think, is exactly like what you just stated, that you have to be thankful for what you have and focus on the good. And then try to do whatever you can to help out anyone else who might not be having that same luck or the good in their lives. So sometimes it's hard to focus on the good things if people that you care about are having bad things happen to them. But I think that's, in general, definitely a good thing. There's a lot of organizations out there now this time of year where they're having food drives, and they're having toy drives, and they're delivering toys or delivering food. If anyone wants to get in contact with WeGo, WeGoLLC.com, WeGoLLC.com. We do have a food drive every year. And if someone needs something, the last minute day or effort would be Christmas Eve, December 24th. So if you are in need of food, or you know somebody in need of food, please go to WeeGoLLC.com, and all the information is on there. Go to WeGo Cares, click that little tab, and let us know whatever we can do to help. Let them know whatever they can do to help. So I want to jump into goodness gracious. You know what? I'm going to toss it over to you to see what you want to talk about first. Because, I mean, I could just talk for probably 5 hours on my own with all this. I mean, seriously, look at this. This is my plan for the show today.
My God. And I'm sure I'll have a lot to comment on about all of those topics and things that you've researched. Because I know you've been pretty busy researching, and you have some information for us. So yeah. But well, I just want to say, unfortunately, we just got a text from Kat, who was supposed to be on the show today, and unfortunately, there's a death in the family. Well, I'm sorry, a friend of hers that passed away. So we want to express our condolences to Kat, and hopefully she'll be able to join us sometime in the near future. So yeah, just because we had just plugged her, and then boom, we get the text. So that's why you see Joseph and I were always checking our phones, because you never know, honey. It's like there's a hotline. There's always things going on, and we are breaking news as it breaks, and we're the type of news that the regular news doesn't even talk about. Shit that we dig up and research. You don't hear this on regular news. So anyway, again, condolences to Kat. I tell you, this time of year is really difficult when you lose somebody. I lost my father a number of years ago, 2 days before Christmas, the 23rd of December. And anytime you lose somebody is hard, but it's something about losing someone around the holidays that it just, and then every year, like when holiday time comes, you can't help to really think about, that person and the loss. So yeah, the 23rd, and actually it was 2 days before the big tsunami. Remember back in 2004, and it killed like 200,000 people over in Asia.
Indonesia,
Yeah,
Indonesia.
yeah, it was horrible, but yeah. So I guess that was a global resurgence. I swear, honey, this planet is volatile. What was that commercial? You don't mess with Mother Nature. Because you never know. You never know.
That's a really long time ago. But to also add to what you said, it's interesting. In the part that I find really interesting is that to me it seems like people that are akin to each other, they have similar things that have happened to them. My birth mother's sister, who was like my mother, raised me and my two brothers instead of my birth mother. And she passed away, goodness gracious. Oh my God. I was 21 years old, so I'm 48. So do the math to reverse it. And she died 2 days before Christmas also as well.
Oh, wow.
Yep, same day. And she went in on my birthday, December 5th, to go get basically just like a colonoscopy. And then it turned into colon cancer. And then it turned into her doing an inpatient, outpatient thing. And then she ended up having her brain swelled. And then she was on life support. And then unfortunately, the decision was made to remedy that. But it was just around Christmas. So I think that that's something that always sticks with you, no matter what the tragedy is. But I think everything is kind of heightened during the holidays.
It is.
And then adding this, what we're going through on top of it, it's even more stressful. But I mean, I know, and just like yourself, when I think about the parts that make me sad, I have to stop myself. Like mentally, I have to stop myself, because if I allow myself to think about the sadness more than the good, then I can change my mood in a negative direction. And for me, I know that when I start feeling that sadness, what I do is I'm like, well, but we had drinks 2 weeks before she went to get her colonoscopy, and we had a fabulous time. I was talking about my boyfriend. She was talking about how she was single. We were having fun. It was the first time we ever went out and had fun like that ever. Like, because I had just turned 21, and it was like, it was that year. I think it was maybe when I was 22. So it was like that. When I turned 21, I wasn't around. So it was when I was 22. So during that extra year, we had several opportunities where we went out, just myself and my mother. Well, my aunt technically, but whatever, my mom. And I think about the good things. I think about the train, the little toy train around the Christmas tree. I think about the presents. I think about lighting up the Christmas tree. I think about the cookies. I think about the food and everything else like that. And I know I can see you're smiling, because you know what it's like when you have something that is bad that happens. It's really hard at first, but then over time you start to adapt to it to try to make it so that it's at least more acceptable. And I never really went through like a really bad period with being upset. It was one of those things where it's like, I can't be upset that she's not here just because I want her to be here. But I mean, I've always thought a little bit differently. It's like, I want her to be here, but I wouldn't want to be here if I was sick. I wouldn't want to be on a respirator.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the way that I look at, tragedy. I try to look at the good part of it. But what do you think about that?
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I mean, my dad and I, we had a pretty volatile relationship. it was almost like growing up, I felt like there was a resentment with him. I mean, of course, he had his own demons that he was dealing with, and a lot of pressure, being a foreigner coming to America, trying to live the quote unquote American dream, the responsibility of a family, all of that. But, like I said, he also had his demons um, and uh, we, I think, as a child, I was reading it like, oh my God, like I can't do anything good enough for him. It seemed like no matter what I did, it was never good enough for this man. But in retrospect, as an adult, I know that probably most of it was he got a son that he wasn't expecting to get. I showed up and he didn't know how to really deal with it. So I'm sure it was very difficult for him. But he was an alcoholic and, he had, like I said, he had his other issues. One thing though, I have to give my dad credit for is he took care of his family. I mean, he took care of his responsibilities. He went to work every day. He was one of those functioning alcoholics where, he made sure and brought the money home and there was a roof over our head and we had food to eat and we were taken care of. So I want to give him credit. But I say all of that to say that in the end, before he passed away, it was so nice to be able to have that like full circle moment with him because we truly connected. Those few months before he died, and I was so happy that finally I was getting what I always wanted from him, and that was like unconditional love. And so when he passed away, that was something I thank God for because I think I would have taken it harder if he had passed away and we didn't have that, full circle moment and we didn't resolve some things. So, and then of course I was able to look at him as a man, a human being, because when you're a kid, you don't look at your parents as like people per se, like people that had dreams and hopes and all of that. And then a friend of mine always he says this from time to time. He says when we're born, we think our parents were born the same day we were born. Like you don't realize, or it doesn't really connect. And I mean, I'm sure maybe some people it does, but I think a lot of people can relate to what I'm saying. It's like you don't realize that, oh yeah, they had a life before I came along. I remember one time my mom was talking about some club downtown and I was like, oh, you know about the club? She's like, yeah, I was going down there in Center City before you were born. And I'm like, oh, that's right. So anyway, I was just so thankful to be able to have those special moments with my dad. And I say all of that to say this: that for the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly of it, what I noticed is after my dad passed away, the good times started to overshadow the bad. It's like, and I started to remember special moments that I had completely forgotten about that I had with him. So that was pretty interesting to me how I was able to like really focus on the good and the positive and how this particular man, him being my father, impacted me in positive ways. Because even though I went through a lot of negative shit with him and, you know, trauma and abuse and et cetera, I realized that he was the one that I got a lot of my strength from because I was hell bent on proving to him that I could still make it in this world, even being the way I am. And I realized that after he died, I realized that that connected to strength because it gave me like this drive that I needed to go through all the shit I've gone through in my life as a transgender, multiracial woman of color. So there you go. You know, and it's funny, a lot of times on the show, Joseph, our conversations are just organic and spontaneous. And I believe that oftentimes we end up talking about things that were meant to be talked about. Even though we didn't know we were going to talk about it, it just organically happens. And I think that that's a beautiful thing.
I completely agree with you. And that's part of the reason why I think people like to watch the show, I think, personally. And it's interesting that you said what you said, because it kind of ties into with what's happening right now. There's a lot of like negative going on in reference to what the current stimulus package is. At least they got to it. Okay. I have my own negative connotations with this, and I'm going to share it because I'm not going to hold back. I mean, I don't give a freaking, okay. I don't really care who I offend. But the fact of the matter is that at least it's done. At least there is a second one. Like, people are like, well, it was $1,200 per person the first time, and it's only $600 per person this time. That's a slap in the face. Okay, it is a slap in the face, and it took a really long time to get there. And most of what the whole amount of money that they got goes to the government. But at least we're getting something. And I'm not giving credit to, the orange-faced monster or the turtle boy at all. I mean, because they've been dragging their feet, and with this election vaccine that they've pushed through, but it just couldn't be done in time. It's a saving grace from my perspective. That's what I personally think. But at least it's something. It's a start. And at least Joe Biden said that there would be multiples publicly. He said, we're going to tap into doing a stimulus package, a few of them. So at least this is the last of the old orange-faced dinosaur getting out of the way. January 20th, let's start fresh. And I can guarantee you this, myself and you and everybody else out there, because of what happened with that other guy, we are going to be on Joe like flies on rice. Because if you say something, you better do it. There's not going to be any, and actually, there was a video. There was a video. I posted a comment about it. I'm trying to remember what she kept saying over and over and over. Oh, look. She kept saying look over and over again. It doesn't make a difference who the person is. So let's just leave it neutral. It doesn't make a difference about what the person's political leanings are. If you ask any politician to answer a question, if you have 10 different people ask the same question in a different way, and the person starts off the response to all 10 people, well, 7 out of the 10 people with this response, look, 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 look. 7 times out of the 10, never answering the question. Doesn't make a difference if you're black, you're white, you're LGBTQ, if you're Episcopalian or you're Jewish or you're Hindu. I don't frickin' care if you're Democrat or Republican. If your answer is look, yeah, we're looking. Just answer the question. You don't have to say look and dodge the question. Just answer the question. So I'm just going to put that out there and leave it alone because I don't want to say who the person is, but people are smart enough that watch the show because I'm trying to be kind of neutral with things from this point forward. And I really don't want to attack people because I want to keep things lighthearted. But what I'm saying is you focused on the good. I'm focusing on the good with what happened with my aunt. You focused on the good with what happened with your dad. And I think we need to focus on the good with what the current package is that's available. We're each going to get $600 a person. They're going to be adding extra time for I think the what is it called? The eviction moratorium. There's more funding available to keep people in their houses that are renting, keep people from having their mortgage getting canceled. They're going to be adding extra stuff for the medications. They're going to be doing extra with disability or whatnot. There's a whole bunch of things that are being extended, at least through January. And we know it's going to take time before things improve, but I want to look at the good side of things. What do you think about this whole new stimulus package? Because at least everything is already in place. Don't you think it's better to look at the good part of things as opposed to be like, well, it's like a big insult? What do you think about that, Rajee?
Well, I'm usually a glass half full type of person anyway. That's just how I treat life and go through life. I'm usually glass half full as opposed to glass half empty. And listen, they took damn long enough. So at least when I heard $600, I was like, hey, it's better than zero. It's better than zero. I mean, and technically they didn't even have to do it. They didn't have to do it. I mean, it was something that was definitely needed or is definitely needed. So I think we just have to be grateful. And, you can complain and focus on the lack, but there's no power in that. Focusing on the lack, focus on the blessings, and looking at the glass half full. And believe me, I've seen it in my life. When you can be thankful for the things that you do have, you attract more. That whole thing of focusing on lack, you'll attract more of that lack. So to me, I think we should move forward, receive the $600, and who knows, maybe we'll get another one down the road. No telling, but yeah, yeah. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I would have liked 12, but hey, they're giving us 6, so why not?
Well, I mean, I think the other good thing too is, like, for some people in the state of Florida, we were offended because the state of Florida actually, quote unquote, turned red. One thing that I want to disclose to you with this past election, and also to our viewers, is that Dade County, the election summary for Dade County, Broward, and Palm Beach County, all of the counties, the major counties where the majority of the population live, actually completely annihilated the Republican. So Dade County went blue. Broward County was blue. Palm Beach County was blue. So I have hopes and prayers and belief that maybe this next election that goes through, sorry for that, that's my recycling can of bottled water that fell. I have hopes that we can hopefully maybe make it a little bit more democratic than Republican. And actually, I have some information about the difference between a Republican, or I should say a republic versus a democracy. Some information to go over, some old school information. And I'm going to cover dictatorship and also authoritarianism as well. I think I touched upon those before. But what do you think about how we technically had the state of Florida as a resident, that technically the majority of the people voted for Biden, but unfortunately the other guy got the state. So how did so many of the other ones vote and it offset everybody else?
Well, because we live in a Republican state, period. the part of the state that we happen to be in, the South Florida part, is the most Democratic part of our state. But but population wise, if you're looking at the rest of the state, there's more people. So, if they're going out and voting Republican, then, of course, we can vote. We Democrats here in South Florida can vote, but the Republican is gonna usually prevail. And so that's what I think. I mean, the same thing with Philadelphia, where my mom lives. Um, Philly is the Democratic part of Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania is a Republican state. It's a moderate. No, I'm sorry. It's a liberal, considered a liberal Republican state. So it's a Republican state, but they're more to the liberal side. Whereas we're in the South, honey. South Florida is the South. So we're more, I would say Florida is more conservative to moderate Republican. But hey, South Florida is still a very big part of Florida. We're a very important part of Florida because this is where the majority of our tourism for the state is. So we have a voice, and our voice is important. And I think we just need to stand our grounds and keep voting. And you know what? For me, and I think we talked about this before, it's not so much like if there was a Republican that was saying the stuff that resonated with me, and I mean, wouldn't just not vote for them because they're Republican. I would at least take a look at that person and say, well, maybe what they're talking about doing is going to serve me and be beneficial to me as a citizen of the state and of the country. But I just know the pattern lately, especially lately, of Republicans. I don't like it. I don't like their pattern. I don't like where they're trying to keep the country at. Listen, whether these people like it or not, we are progressing. America looks very different than it used to look 50 years ago, and it's happening regardless of whether you like it or not. It's gonna happen. It's happening as we speak. So, I think a lot of these people, especially the Trumpers, because I think they're a special breed of Republican. They're a special breed. They're just in a whole category of their own. I think many of them, uh, are just wanting to hold on to the old ways of white supremacy. I really do. The white ones. Now, I scratched my head when I heard, like, when I was seeing these LGBTQ and people of color that voted for Trump. I was thinking, have you fucking lost your mind? And that leads me to a story you were telling me the other day about some trans woman that went to a Republican rally and they were heckling her, and you were like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
that's Queen MAGA Queen.
oh, well, okay, Queen MAGA."
Let me just say this, and actually I'll pull up a photo because I don't think she looks so pretty. Because I saved the photo because, like, I'm just saying, like, seriously. Um, this
Are you
is
saying
December
that?
12th. This is 2 weeks ago, I should say, December 12th, approximately 2 weeks ago. She went right after it was clearly official that he was going to lose. And she is completely delusional. Even though they heckled her, quote unquote, Queen, MAGA Queen, even though they heckled her, she justified the behavior as though, well, that wasn't directed towards me. I'm gonna pull up the photo, and and we can't judge a book by its cover, right? I mean, just in general. But, like, when you see the picture of her, and then you think about it, and then you think about the personification of all that energy that went into that person, and that person was heckled, and ridiculed and ridiculously ridiculed by the people that were there. And then when she was questioned, she's like, well, that wasn't about me. That was about the other ones. And it wasn't those people. It was these other people, and tried to point blame on others. So, but I'm going to pull up the image in a second. So you can go ahead and tell me what you think about it. But I mean, tell me what you think about that topic. But it's just horrifying.
Well, okay, so initially I don't think you knew everything about it when you brought it up with me, but you were like, "Oh, isn't that a shame? And what do you feel about it?" And my first response, honestly, was good for fucking her. Because if you're going to be a fool to think that you can go and be accepted at a trans rally, I mean, at a Republican rally, being an openly transgender woman, and they're going to love and embrace you when many of them are like really conservative, far right conservative people. I mean, come on. I mean, come on, like, really? But, everyone has a right to their political views and, to participating in whatever they choose to participate in. I saw the picture. Um, and if she wants to be delusional, hey, I wonder if the delusion will continue when they start stoning her. I wonder what she'll say about that. Like, if they start beating her up and attacking her physically, will she say, "Oh, they're just showing me love. They're showing me love by hitting and punching me"? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. Because let me tell you, I don't give a fuck. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We didn't want to cuss. I'm sorry. I get really passionate. I don't give a darn. How's that? Is that more? Is that better? I don't give
Yes.
a darn. I don't give a darn. I'm not going to be anywhere that I know people are not going to respect me. You don't have to accept what I am, but you sure as hell have to respect it. Okay? And not this whole tolerating me uh, crock of bull BS. Respect one another as fellow human beings despite our differences. So that I'm not going to sit up. That's why I will not sit up in anybody's church that's going to look at me and condemn me to hell. Meanwhile, all these people are fornicating. This one's husband's having sex with this one's wife, and they're holier than thou now, sitting, walking around all pious, but they want to judge me and condemn me to hell? Oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no. I refuse to expose myself to that. I refuse to even be in those sort of environments. So I say all of that to say that I wouldn't have, if I was her, I wouldn't have gone out there. But you never know. Maybe she has a strategy because sometimes people do things for a bigger picture. Maybe this was to actually get her in the news and get us talking about her and get more attention for her brand. I mean, you never know. You'd be surprised. Some of these people that walk around like, oh, they're delusional stuff, they know what the hell they're doing, okay? They know what they're doing. So maybe there's a strategy behind it. But I mean, if she innocently went out there thinking, okay, I'm going to go out and rally with the fellow Trumpers and Republicans, and they're going to accept me, then I just think she's a fool.
I agree with you. And I want to do a shout out to Raphael London. I just got an email from you. Raphael London, please do not hesitate to ask whatever the question is. Our show is live. You can be invited, and if you want to participate, you will be able to do that after I do a little pre-screening, because I'm not going to be inviting people who are going to try to attack myself or Rajee or any of our guests live on the show. I will not allow that. So if you have a question, please do not hesitate, Raphael London, to go ahead and text message me for the number that is provided. That's 954-531-4631. You can contact us during the show, which is recorded but it is recorded live and it is unedited, as you can clearly see if you watch all of the shows, that they are not edited. Nothing's edited. It's real. It's live. It's uncut and unadulterated. So, Raphael London, I ask and request of you, come this way. Ask your question, honey. Come this way, Raphael. Come into the light and ask your question. So hopefully that individual will be able to respond to the email that I just got. All right, so I think that it's absolutely exactly what you just said. She wanted some attention. She got some attention. She had her 5 minutes of fame. The part that I find disturbing is that we don't really know. I mean, seriously, like all of this right there, all of that is the anti-LGBTQ that's happened from day one of the current administration. 4 years. 4 years of it. So if you're that stupid, I ain't got no love lost if something happens to you, honey. So just like if something happens to somebody who doesn't want to wear a mask and then they get COVID, I don't think that you even deserve a respirator personally, as far as I'm concerned. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to wear a mask. You're fine. You'll be just fine. If you get sick, guess what? Just stay at home. You'll be fine. You don't have to wear a mask, so then you don't need to wear a mask that has oxygen in it then, right? You can't wear the mask to protect other people, and you're going to put other people in danger, but then you're going to go into the hospital and put everyone else in danger because you don't care about helping everybody else. So I think there's a better way to use the oxygen, not on you. So, and that goes for anybody in the LGBTQ community also as well, from my perspective. Because I've been taking drives up and down Walton Drive, people sitting out there having their cocktails, no mask, eating their empanadas, having their pizza, having their coffee, no masks on. I saw a video that was very disturbing of a nightclub. I'm not going to say which one because there's several, but in our neighborhood, the video was taken of all the people dancing around, no shirts on, having fun. Woo! Woo! Yay! When y'all get sick, you know what? If y'all get sick, you deserve it. That's the way that I look at it. You really, truly do deserve it. And you don't have to agree with me about it, but like everyone's treating this like it's not serious. It's really serious. I'll cover the numbers in a little bit, but it's a huge insult by her behavior. And she did get her couple of minutes of fame. I would like to believe that she's better than what the story says. And I hope that she is, and pray that she might maybe start to understand things in a different way. But it might be one of those ships that you can't, it's like a ship that's got a whole bunch of holes and it's sinking. You can keep bailing out water and you're still going to sink. So that little queen's, that little queen ship, she done sunk. So at least she got a couple of minutes, I should say, of a conversation. But I do want to cover something because we talked about Republican and Democratic. And a lot of people might not remember, I'm sure that you do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so first of all, that was indoctrinated into me and you and people of our age our entire lives. We had to stand up in school, pledge allegiance to the flag, the whole thing. Just recently that they took it out. So my question for you is, do you know the difference between a republic as opposed to a democracy? That's a trick question because I think you probably don't.
A republic as opposed to democracy. Okay, so okay, so
I'm putting you on the spot. Now I feel bad.
because a republic, okay, like the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Republic of
Yes.
it's a republic means to me that it's a country. It's like, it's its own sovereign nation or nation. And then based on the government, that determines whether it's a democracy, dictatorship, a socialistic society. But I don't know, I could be wrong. You said it's a trick question, so.
Okay, so no, it is a trick question. So a republic and a democracy are identical in every aspect except one. And I know that there's a difference. So, and this is the part that most people think like, well, the United States of America is a democracy. It's not a democracy. It's a republic. It's in the Constitution. So it is a republic. A democracy is something that most people who are democratic, like democratically minded people who are open to everything, want all exclusivity in general, I would think. Like you want to be diplomatic, you want to be helpful. Okay, so I'm gonna give everybody an old school, what was it called, civics lesson. And this is from lawnotes.org, law notes. So, I mean, it's not like I'm talking out of my ears to clean it up. So a republic, that form of government in which the powers of sovereignty are vested in the people and are exercised by the people, either directly or through representatives chosen by the people, to whom those powers are specifically delegated. Note, the word people may be either plural or singular. In a republic, the group only has advisory powers. The sovereign individual is free to reject the majority group thinking. USA exception. If 100% of a jury convicts, then the individual loses sovereignty and is subject to a group think, as in a democracy. That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it simple after I read the next part. A democracy. A democracy is a form of government. So republic is a form of government. Democracy is a form of government. Just like a dictatorship is a form of government, and authoritarianism is a government, as well as fascist is a government. So I just wanted to like break that down. So democracy, the form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens, directly or indirectly through a system of representation, as distinguished from a monarchy, aristocracy, or oligarchy. That's such a horrible name. I mean, it's just hard to even pronounce, even though I'm looking at it and I'm smart and have a degree or whatever, it's just ridiculous. Note, in a pure democracy, 51% beats 49%. In other words, the minority has no rights at all. The minority only has privileges granted by the dictatorship of the majority. So this is my problem. Is like, I don't like the idea of a complete democracy because it nullifies 49% of people's perspective.
Okay.
Like, just because I think that Joe Biden and Kamala should be the leader doesn't mean that the other people shouldn't have any perspective or any vote or any perspective, like anything that matters. But with the republic, I don't like that either as well, because there's a lot of built up extra levels of things. Like, I don't like the republic. I don't like the democracy. I think there might be something in the middle that could be created that's different. Like, I like the idea, to be honest with you, and I've talked about this on the show before. It's a book that I'm writing. I'm just going to give a little snippet about it. It's called The Right In Candidate, where instead of a person being a part of any kind of political leanings, every person writes in the person's name on the ballot, just like you've seen and I've seen. You can write Joe Schmo from Kokomo. You could write, your name on there, and you would have a vote. It would actually be registered. So I like the idea of it not being Democratic, not Republican, not democracy, not republic. I obviously don't like the authoritarianism or the dictatorship or the fascist, but I think no one's going to really understand how important their voice is until we completely do away with all the bull.
Well,
If more than half of the budget for the new stimulus package is going towards running the government and bailing out gigantic corporations, and we're just getting not even 1/3 of the money, it's all going to government. Like, that's not the way it's supposed to be. What do you think about the whole idea of the republic versus the democracy?
Well, honestly, I think it's blurred. I think countries that call themselves a republic aren't necessarily a republic based on the book, the definition. I think it's blurred. I think democracies and republics are blurred. I don't know if there's really a true republic per se or a true democracy. Those two are so close. They're so close in definition that I think that's why it gets blurred. Because if you look at a lot of the countries that call themselves the Republic of Congo, the Republic of whatever, I don't even think they're going by that whole definition of republic government. I think they're just using it to declare their country, and so I really believe that in most cases it's a blurred thing. It's because it's so close. Whereas like communism, dictatorship is so very different from the republic and the democracy, where it's so distinctive. You'd be able to say, okay, this is definitely a dictatorship, or this is definitely whatever, because or a socialist country but see, socialism, we had talked about this. America has socialist ways that I personally think are necessary, like certain programs that the government runs. So I think if you look at worldwide, the different countries and governments, a lot of the stuff is blurred. Because in this country, we don't mix religion and government. But there's a lot of countries that mix religion with government too. So, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, a lot of these countries, the governments are mixed in with the religion. Iran,
What?
Iran is another big thing. They have a religious leader that's almost like a government figure, and so yeah, so it gets really, really, I think, murky when you start to look at all the different countries and governmental practices, and whether they call themselves a country or a republic or a democracy.
Well, I mean, the thing that you said that I find interesting is that religion is used as a weapon in the United States all the time. And even though it's not part of the government, it is deeply seated and embedded in the government because churches do not have to pay taxes. How much more do you need to not be deeply embedded in the government when you don't have to pay any taxes? You're embedded in the government. You're deeply embedded in the government. And some of these people in this most recent election that we just had that worked in our favor, they were telling their parishioners to go out and vote. I've never seen that before. They're like, go out and vote for this person. Like, it's your civic duty, and it's the right religious thing to do. So we almost got to be into a fascist government. We were so close. We were so close. We were, I don't even know the right word for it. We were like one breath away from almost losing it. And thank God we didn't. Not to bring God into it, but thankfully we didn't. Because the fact of the matter is that was a weapon, and that was almost intertwined into our government, and it would have been intertwined in our government, and it has been intertwined in our government because of the anti-LGBTQ agenda for some evangelicals. Yeah, so
I see what you're saying. I think what I was talking about more so was like when they use the religious doctrine to make the laws of the country. That's what I'm talking about, like where they'll use like religious law to apply to civil law, and it mixes. That I don't think really goes on in this country, but there's religious influence definitely in government, because even when you look at like a lot of these Republicans, they're like staunch what do they call them? Christian
evangelicals.
Evangelicals. So totally. I agree. You have a really great point there with the whole and even the whole fight with abortion. That becomes religious too for many people, the religious beliefs. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know how much time you have or how much longer you want to talk. I got a couple other topics that I want to bring up, but I don't want to take up too much of your time because it's already 5:30, and I know it's getting late because we want to be able to watch this beautiful, spectacular show.
Yes,
but it's still sunny, so we can go a little bit longer if you're okay with that.
Yeah, let's go a little longer.
Well, go ahead.
Why don't you talk about the whole stuff that you researched, with
Oh yeah. That can possibly wait, but I do want to cover a little timeline stuff with COVID. Okay. Because first of all, there's a new strain of COVID that is in London and also South Africa and several other countries that supposedly is 70% more transmittable than the original version. There's some debate in reference to how strong it is, and there's some confusion as opposed to if it's worse, if the current vaccine is going to work to keep it in check or not. But I do want to talk about several things. In the United States now, we have 17.9 million. Close to 20 million people have had it. Over 318,000 deaths. So unfortunately, Rajee and you and me, we are in the top 3 still. By the way that it looks, we might end up the top number because of our current ineptitude from Ron Dixon. Ron, whatever his name, the current governor.
Ron DeSantis.
I won't speak its name. I call him Pork Patty. Pork Patty. He's a little chunky. He's like a chunky little. He's a chunky boy. Anyways, but California has 1.89 million cases. Has had since the beginning. 22,736 deaths. Texas, 1.59 million. 25,948 deaths. Florida, 1.2 million. 20,567 deaths. Illinois actually bumped up, I presume Chicago, 902,000 cases and 16,407 deaths. New York has kind of been just hovering. They originally like spiked up really high and they kind of plateaued. So they're at 851,000 cases. So we're almost double the cases that New York City had, or I should say the state of New York. And we're getting close to surpassing the deaths for New York. They were at 36,000 deaths. So my concern is that from the beginning, this whole thing started off with the World Health Organization back in December 31st of 2019, where it was on the radar. They've been telling people about stuff. They've been telling people about what's going on for a long time. Pardon my chewed nails. I've been biting my nails since I was a kid, so get over it. All your little people out there, they're going to judge me for it. So I got like 4 pages of this. And the fact of the matter is that the White House has known about this from the very beginning. I think it might be in reverse. Does it look like it's in reverse to you or just to me?
It's so small, I can't really tell.
But is it
no,
correct?
I think it's right.
You can read it correctly? Okay, so for me, it's reversed. It's a little weird, whatever. I'll upload this information because I want to establish a timeline from the World Health Organization about what they disclosed, when things were happening, real time, and then also correlate it to the information that I did some research on for the vaccines. So, first of all, what do you think about these numbers going up, and how comfortable do you feel to even go anywhere at all for Christmas?
You know, I really, I'm at a point now where it's getting tiring because, you know, it'll be almost a year that we're dealing with this. Obviously, they're saying there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but I don't know how soon we're going to get to that end of the tunnel because, you know, with this whole new strand now that they're saying has appeared in Europe and in England and some other parts of the world, but I think specifically London, England, and around England or the United Kingdom. This new strand of the virus that's 70% more infectious or contagious. You know, I think the jury is out on a lot of things. I think it really is because with the new strand, we don't even know how effective the a vaccine is going to be. And actually, you know, they're saying it should be effective, but you know, how do you know for sure until things play out? So yeah, that's like a whole new dynamic now. And then again, this vaccine, a lot of people are very wary of it. I know Joseph did some research on the different pharmaceutical companies, and maybe we'll talk about that next week. I don't know. That's a pretty deep topic, but yeah, it's so there's a lot of questions in regards to like how many people will actually take the vaccine, um, and so because the numbers are spiking and people are still getting sick and dying in the hospital. Like there's people that are dying every day of it. I I'm trying to be conscientious. When I go out, I wear my mask. I practice social distancing. I haven't been doing a lot of socializing, and I think I'll just continue to do that. I'm going to lay low for the holidays, and just I made that decision this year because really, why take the chance? I went to the doctor's last week. My Dr. Martin in down in Coral Gables, Florida, um, and here in the USA. And he has a new medical assistant, cute Latino boy. He's young, like in his 20s. And so we were talking about COVID. He was in the room with us, the medical assistant. And I said, but I said, people are dying. I said, yeah, a lot of people get it and they just get a little sick or they have like a flu or whatever, or something similar to a flu. But I said, there's still people dying. And he said, yeah, my mom died in the spring of it.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, your mom died? He said, yeah, my mom passed away from COVID. And I was like, wow, right in my face, this young guy, who lost his mom. And so it's there and it's real. And I think we all need to continue, or if you haven't taken it seriously, you need to. And the ones that have been taking it seriously, we just need to stay vigilant and continue, until we can see our way through, get through this and see our way through. I was really sad. I started crying for him because it like it like
I don't even know how I would have reacted. I probably would have cried right on the spot.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I cried. Well, because you know what it is. Like when you hear numbers, numbers are numbers. But when you see the people that are being affected, people that have died, the people that they were, the lives that they had, their families and friends. And then I met someone like who was in my face, like standing there in front of me, saying that, his mother died in the spring of it. So it's real. It is real.
All right, so what I'm going to do before we finish off the show, because it's getting close to dark, and I want to go out back and look to see where those Christmas stars are going to be. Well, not stars. The planets that are going to be aligning.
It's called conjunction. Conjunction.
It's
conjunction.
Do you remember conjunction function? What's your motion? Do you remember that when we were kids?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I was young then, but anyway, I remember it. Yeah.
All right, but I do want to give people a heads up because one of the topics that I'm going to dive into very much so the next show is the vaccine, the companies that are involved with the current vaccines that are available. I want to caution people to pull up some legal documents, .gov, PHE.gov. It's called the Fourth Amendment to the Declaration under the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act for medical countermeasures against COVID-19 and republication of the Declaration. So just to put this into perspective, this original law was passed through in 2005, but it was modified several times. And it started on March 10th, 2020. And it's been modified many times since that date to basically build in more and more protection for the pharmaceutical companies, as well as CDC. You're going to have to bear with me for a moment because I had the page folded. It's called the PrEP Act. That's what originally passed back in 2005, which was originally supposed to make it so that people could, there would be a fund set aside. So people, if someone got sick from some kind of a drug, that they could go ahead and file a lawsuit, which I'm sure that all of you at home have seen the commercials every day for at least the last 10 years, 15 years. If you got sick from talcum powder, you can call this number and you can sue and you can make money, and this is your cutoff. If you got this from this, you can go ahead. If you got this from that, you can go ahead. That's what that whole thing started from. And then, but what they did, just before the stock prices skyrocketed, Pfizer, like this, Moderna, like this. Just before they released the information to the general public, they just happened to pass some legislation and modify the information that makes it so that if you take these medications or participate in clinical trials, that you cannot hold the FDA, CDC, public health services, or any state responsible for anything that happens to you, no matter what it is. You can't hold them responsible. Even extended to the equipment that people are using, respirators and whatnot. So you're laying in bed, COVID, you're on a respirator that's provided to a hospital that was supplied, that was created by a company that they got FDA approval, and it's in the hospital. And guess what? You can't do anything if you die or there's complications. So that same indemnity clause was pushed on to all of these medications, and not only just the medications, but also the CDC, because the CDC and the FDA have to approve the pharmaceuticals. So Pfizer has indemnity where you can't sue them. Moderna has indemnity where you cannot sue them, even though they created products that you are being told that you're supposed to take, which may very well help you. It could help you. All I'm suggesting is that people look into the Fourth Amendment to the Declaration under the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act. It's called the PrEP Act from 2005. Pull up that information and then do a little bit of research like I did. And then you will see that just before they started to acknowledge that there was a problem, even though the problem started in 2019, I mean, you know, there's no problem. It's just one case. It'll disappear. It's in China. It's the China disease. We got it covered. There's nothing to worry about. It's okay. It'll disappear tomorrow. There's nothing to worry about. I mean, that's my horrible impression of the orange-faced monster, but the fact of the matter is that shortly after this happened, with their revisions to make it so you can't sue pharmaceutical companies, look at those stock prices. Look at that. Look at that. It's a miracle how they went up.
Yeah.
Right after each one of these amendments happened. It's a Christmas miracle. It's a Christmas miracle.
Didn't you tell me that Moderna was $18 a stock and now it's $145?
That is correct. Yes.
You know, that's and within months, not even a full year.
Yeah, it was okay, and I have it right here, and everyone can pull this up on their own. This is Moderna, Inc., mRNA, on November 19th. I should say in November of 2019. The stock, I had to hand write it on here because I couldn't print off the whole thing. The stock was $18 And I don't know if I got in there or not properly. If you can see it,
Yeah.
maybe now you can.
Yeah.
Okay. And then look at this. Look at that date. March. That's May.
July.
And look at this. Isn't it? That's just like a Christmas miracle.
Wow.
That's a Christmas miracle right there. Isn't that just amazing? That's just the stock market. Let's just follow the numbers. So, and in reference to the people who are the top 10 owners of Moderna stock, right here, public record, top 10 Pfizer stock owners. We'll get into that story the next time because I really don't care who I piss off. I mean, and I got some photos of some of the board members right here. Really easy. Everyone can pull them up on their own. So I'm gonna be doing a little bit more research into this topic because I think that the paper trail is going to go funneling back to the states that are not making people wear masks and are encouraging travel. Just like Florida. I think the money's going to come back to Florida and the other states. They're encouraging travel because they want people to be sick and to have their numbers so high so that they feel like the only way that they can fix it is to take this medication or take that vaccine. And when you have a stock that a year ago was 18 and now it's $145, and every stock bump happened after each one of these modifications to what the law was to give them more indemnity, you can't tell me that that's just above the board, honey. No one can tell me that.
Right. It really does make you question everything. I mean, oh my God. And you know, a lot of people, they don't take the time to research this stuff, but you took the time to do it. And I mean, like you said, anyone can go online and see this information. And when you see it, the way you just laid it out, I mean, it really does make you think, what the fuck is really going on? Oh, here I go again. What the heck is really going on behind the scenes? And you know, is it really all about money? You know, money, because these pharmaceutical companies make a lot of money, a lot. And so, you know, it's something to really take a look at, big time.
It definitely is. So, and I'm definitely going to dive into it with 2 hands, 2 feet, and this big old beaker nose. Yay. This big old nose. I'm going to dive in there and muddle around. And now it's close to dark. So I think it's time for you to go into your backyard and look southwest, not at the airline.
Southwest.
South and west. And look low on the horizon line. But if you don't get it tonight, because I think tonight we might be okay, because by me, there's no like clouds or anything right now. It's a little misty looking out. Yeah. But one of my girlfriends up in Ohio took a picture of a pretty clear sky last night, and they're getting close. But if you don't get it to see it today, tomorrow, you could see it today, tonight, tomorrow, the next day. You might actually see it the best on Christmas Day. It just depends on how cloudy it is and with your, you know, lights and everything else that's out. If you are going to have like some light pollution that negatively affects it, but it's supposed to be one of the most spectacular things that we've seen for a long time. And I don't think it's going to look like this, but I hope it does.
Oh my God.
I hope it does look like that.
I hope so too. That would be.
I hope it looks like that. Because that just looks so pretty. Like you want to put that right on top. You want to put that right on top of your tree, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So, well, I don't have anything much more to say besides thank you very much for watching. I'm going to close with Rajee saying goodbye, but I want to say Thank you to our over 75,000 viewers. And we have one more show left before the end of the year, and we will be off for 2 weeks. So we will return on Martin Luther King Jr. Day with a very special episode that is just before the inauguration of my favorite, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So, Rajee, what do you have to say before it's the holidays?
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in again. We love your support. Thank you for watching and for taking time out to hear what we have to say. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful, happy holiday. Happy Hanukkah, Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, and just enjoy your holiday. And like I said, really try and tap into the energy of the world on Christmas, the energy of love. And on that note, I want to wish everyone love, happiness, peace, good health, prosperity, and many wonderful blessings. And let's hope that 2021 will be a year full of serendipitous moments, many of them. Love you.
Love you too, sweetheart. I can't wait to see you. I was trying to pull up some holiday music before the end of the show, but sorry, couldn't make it happen. So I'm going to have to maybe possibly.
Here we go. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. So much fun it is to ride in a
Open sleigh.
Jingle
All right.
bells,
Thank you so much. Don't forget to get a hold of Rajee at mysouthernexposure.site. And if you're interested in advertising, don't forget, advertise at mysouthernexposure.site as well. And if you know anyone looking for a job and they want to be able to work from home safely, remotely, we are hiring sales representatives all around the United States and all around the world, not just in the United States. So our goal is to reach everybody far and wide, no matter where you are from, whether you're LGBTQ or not. You might be an A of the LGBTQA. So, A, we're looking out for you. Anyways, thank you so much. We'll see you next week, Monday, December 28th. Have a good holiday. Thank you so much for watching.